Trunks has always been facing various dangers in his timeline, which is the original one, androids, and also the most recent one, which is Goku Black. That said, when he returns to the past again, he encounters Goku and tries to attack him. Everyone is surprised, but what if there wasn't Goku Black, but Vegeta Black instead? Would the mental damage to Trunks be greater than it already was? Let's dive into this discussion together, but don't be like Black. Help build up, we count on you then, so subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and leave your like. The Goku Black Saga, originally conceived as one of the darkest and most complex narratives in the Dragon Ball Super Universe, brought with it an unprecedented thematic weight, that of a hero who turns against everything he vowed to protect. Goku Black wasn't exactly Goku, but rather the body of the Saiyan taken over by Zamasu, a former apprentice Kaioshin from Universe 10, who became corrupted to the point of believing mortal existence was a threat to universal balance. By using the Super Dragon Balls to swap bodies with Goku, Zamasu initiated a massacre that ravaged countless worlds and culminated in the apocalypse of Trunks' future. The visual and emotional impact of seeing Goku's face, a symbol of hope and overcoming, acting as a cold and calculating tyrant, created a cruel and fascinating contrast for the audience. However, what if Zamasu had chosen Vegeta instead of Goku? How would this arc develop, and what kind of consequences would this change bring for Trunks, the Z Warriors, and the very philosophy of the story? This question opens up a range of possibilities that would alter everything from the emotional impact of the saga to combat strategies and the unfolding of the most crucial decisions. To understand the magnitude of this change, it's necessary to recall who Goku Black is. With Zamasu's mind and Goku's body, Black displays a mixture of Goku's classic techniques with a refined perversity. He not only replicated the hero's moves perfectly, but adapted them with cruelty and destructive purpose. The Super Saiyan Rose transformation, a divine version of Super Saiyan Blue corrupted by hatred, was the symbol of his perfect fusion between divinity and Saiyan power. Goku Black was more than a physical threat. He was a critique of the very nature of power and the fallibility of gods. Zamasu chose Goku for two main reasons: his potentially unlimited strength and the fact that he was a mortal who had already faced gods and survived. Obsessed with the idea of absolute justice, Zamasu saw in Goku the ultimate representation of what he despised most, an inferior being daring to challenge the divine. By taking his body, Zamasu tried to prove that real justice could only come from a being that nullified mortal wills, and that true peace required the extinction of humanity. However, Vegeta also meets similar and even more unsettling criteria. Unlike Goku, Vegeta has a real past of destruction. He was raised as an elitist warrior, despised the weak, killed for pleasure, and only slowly and painfully redeemed himself alongside Bulma and Trunks. Vegeta is a character whose fight is not only physical, but internal. His redemption is conscious, a rational choice based on his love for his family and respect earned for Goku. If Zamasu had gotten to know this trajectory more deeply, he might have seen in Vegeta an even more symbolic example of what he hated: a warrior who abandoned his natural instinct for destruction to live as an ordinary mortal, creating bonds and protecting the life he once despised. I think one of the author's ideas was the following: we already know Vegeta as a villain, but now we have to add Goku as a villain. And what if he had fully immersed himself in the life of a true Saiyan? It was kind of a what if. What if Goku hadn't come to Earth or hid his head and been cared for by Grandpa Gohan? Anyway, possessing Vegeta's body would therefore bring even greater psychological depth to the threat. Vegeta Black wouldn't just be a cruel figure, he would be a distortion of someone who fought against his own nature to be better. Zamasu's cruelty in taking this body would seem even more perverse, as an affront to Vegeta's journey of redemption. And for Trunks, this would have a devastating impact. In the original scenario, Trunks suffers seeing Goku's face causing destruction, but he maintains a certain emotional distance since Goku was always closer to his father. Now, if the face destroying the future is Vegeta's, Trunks' pain reaches catastrophic levels. He would not only see his father turn against humanity, but also lose the strongest symbol of protection in his life. Trunks grew up idolizing Vegeta, flaws and all. His training, his identity as a warrior, his belief in overcoming, all came from his father. Seeing this symbol corrupted by Zamasu could break him completely. It would be like Izuku Midoriya seeing All Might destroy the world of heroes, something similar here. It's possible to imagine Trunks in this alternate universe feeling that there is no hope left. Perhaps he wouldn't even return to the past to ask for help, fearing that no timeline could stop a black version of Vegeta. Or maybe his fury would be so great that it would push him to surpass his own limits even before reuniting with Goku and the real Vegeta, generating new awakened forms of power fueled by trauma, a dark and furious version of Super Saiyan rage, perhaps even more destructive and unstable. Imagine him seeing his own father, so to speak, killing his mother. That would be utterly inhumane. From a technical standpoint, Vegeta Black would be a different threat from Goku Black. While Goku fights more instinctively and fluidly, Vegeta is a natural strategist. Zamasu, possessing Vegeta's body, would have at his disposal a more rigid, precise, and explosive fighting style. Techniques like Final Flash, Gallic Gun, and Big Bang Attack would gain divine, corrupted versions, intensified by Zamasu's evil ki. The Rose Final Flash, for example, could be a planet-devastating technique, with an intense purple glow marking the sky before the end. Additionally, Vegeta's pride, even suppressed, could influence the symbiosis with Zamasu. While Goku was more relaxed and permissive, allowing Zamasu to use his body relatively easily, Vegeta might resist more intensely. This could create moments of instability in battle, something that writers could dramatically explore. Perhaps at key moments, Vegeta's consciousness would briefly emerge, creating cracks in Zamasu's plan and offering a chance for salvation. Another crucial point would be the fusion with Zamasu himself. In Dragon Ball Super, Goku Black fuses with the original Zamasu, creating a being that combines a Saiyan body with divine immortality. If it were Vegeta Black, the result of this fusion would be aesthetically and conceptually different. The character could carry even more traits of a sadistic, imposing warrior, with the aura of a king and an even more exaggerated sense of superiority. The fusion might be more stable, given Vegeta's firmer emotional control, and the result could be an enemy almost impossible to defeat by conventional means. Vegeta's emotional response to seeing his body being used by a tyrant would be different from Goku's. Goku was outraged by the use of his body, but dealt with it as a moral and ethical offense. Vegeta, on the other hand, would react with pure fury. The pride he has in his evolution, for having chosen a just path despite his origin, would make him launch into battle with explosive emotional intensity. He would not allow his history, his redemption, to be stained in that way, but here we have a preview of how this would be, especially since we had a copy of Vegeta in one of the sagas in the Dragon Ball Super anime. In Dragon Ball Super, Vegeta had a copy called Duplicate Vegeta, who appeared in the Copy Vegeta saga. This saga is a short and exclusive anime arc, which takes place between the Universe 6 saga and the Future Trunks saga. There we already had a reference to the Trunks saga, and we had no idea about it. The story begins when Goku's team travels to planet Potofu, where they find a substance called Super Sacred Water, which has the power to copy and drain the energy of whoever touches it. Vegeta ends up falling victim to this phenomenon, and his copy, Duplicate Vegeta, appears with all his powers and abilities. The real Vegeta begins to weaken as his energy is drained, and Goku has to face the copy to save his friend. As for Vegeta's reactions, he was extremely irritated to see a copy of himself, especially because it was fighting against Goku. As always, his Saiyan pride was hurt, and he did not like the idea of being replaced by an artificial version at all. In the end, Goku defeats Duplicate Vegeta, and Vegeta recovers his energy. It was a short saga but fun, exploring an interesting concept and bringing funny moments. In terms of character development, the existence of Vegeta Black could be the catalyst for a definitive evolution of Vegeta. Forced to confront the worst possible version of himself, a version perverted by a distorted ideal of justice, Vegeta could reach power levels he never imagined. Trunks, after the initial pain and desolation, could find new strength not only to protect his timeline, but to avenge the father he knew. This could bring Trunks even closer to the true Vegeta, creating a deep bond that would lead the two to fight together in sync like never before. An emotional moment would be seeing father and son side by side, facing the distorted version of Vegeta himself as a symbol of resistance against determinism and corruption. Finally, the philosophical message of the saga would gain new contours. The critique of Zamasu's divine arrogance would still be present, but would gain more layers by using Vegeta as a host body. Zamasu, who despised mortals for their imperfection, would now use the body of a being who fought exactly against those imperfections, who chose to be more than his cruel origin. Vegeta Black would be the living contradiction of the Zero Mortals plan, a warrior who is mortal, destructive, redeemed, and then used for destruction in the name of divine justice. This irony would make the arc even more tragic and impactful. In summary, the switch from Goku to Vegeta in the role of Black would profoundly change the foundations of the saga. Trunks' emotional pain, battle strategies, character growth, and the final message of the story would be intensified. Vegeta Black would not be just a powerful villain, but a dark distortion of one of the greatest redemption arcs ever written in Dragon Ball. And this version of the story might remind us that true power is not in defeating enemies, but in not letting oneself be corrupted even by gods. Zamasu managed to steal Goku's body using the Super Dragon Balls. These spheres are much more powerful than the traditional Earth or Namek Dragon Balls, as they can grant virtually any wish without limitations. Zamasu, who already held deep hatred for mortals, used these spheres to switch bodies with Goku, becoming Goku Black. The process was instant and irreversible, leaving Goku in Zamasu's body and allowing Zamasu to use all the Saiyan power. If Vegeta were in Goku's place, would it be so easy? Vegeta has a history of resistance against attempts of mind control and possession. For example, he resisted Babidi control during the Meijin Saga, maintaining his consciousness and even using the power granted for his own goals. Additionally, Vegeta faced situations like Baby's possession in Dragon Ball GT, where despite being dominated, he still showed signs of resistance. Considering this history, it is possible Vegeta would at least try to resist the body switch imposed by Zamasu. However, since the Super Dragon Balls are incredibly powerful, maybe not even his willpower would be enough to prevent the swap. The dragon Zamasu used to make his wish was Super Shenlong, the dragon of the Super Dragon Balls. He is much larger and more powerful than Shenlong or Purunga, and his creator, Zalama, is a mysterious and extremely powerful entity. The fact that Zamasu managed to fulfill his wish even with Goku alongside Whis and Beerus shows that the Super Dragon Balls have no restrictions regarding who can make requests, as long as they are gathered and the correct language is used to summon Super Shenlong. If Vegeta were in the same situation, maybe he would try to resist, but against a wish made to the Super Dragon Balls, his willpower might not be enough. However, considering his determination and pride, he certainly would not accept the swap without a fight. It is a double-edged sword, but fortunately or unfortunately, it ended only with the help of Zeno, who took sides in this situation just because he did not like what he saw.